Hi everyone, welcome back to the Power of a Hobby. I'm your host Don Fenton, and today in the studio I have another guest. Hi Sylvia, how are you?
All right, how are you, Dom?
Yeah, very good, thank you, and thank you for joining me. For anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and the viewers?
So my name is Sylvia Paul, and my business is Spanish the Fun Way, but my hobby is um, something very different that people don't generally expect me to have done.
Oh, intriguing. Intriguing. Obviously, now we've had a brief chat beforehand. I know what the hobby is, so I get you on that one. Um, and before we announce what it is, I have a question that I ask all my guests. So, Sylvia, what do you take from the meaning of the power of a hobby?
So for me, a hobby is important because it's often something that we do for ourselves rather than for any financial gain or to give back to the community or anything like that. Although some hobbies naturally lend themselves towards that feeling of community. Um, but it's a way of carving out that little bit of time for yourself to try and hold on to whatever sanity you have left after living in this crazy world that we're in.
And with it's definitely a crazy world, and and I sort of mentioned briefly as well what the idea around the podcast. And obviously for me, it's a case of we are there to inspire people. We are there to show people actually that for me, everyone needs a hobby. Um, and actually, it doesn't matter what you do, providing it's a positive one and has a positive impact on your life. So, Sylvia, you mentioned that people may be surprised. Why don't you sort of let us know what your hobby is?
So I actually do triathlons, which means swimming, cycling, and running. So I'm certainly not the fastest one out there. Those that know me face to face know that I'm not built like a triathloner. But then again, what does one of those look like?
Yeah,
Uh,
I completely agree, and we sort of mentioned we touched on that earlier. Um, it's it's a really interesting one because I think what it what you know what you've got three aspects, and obviously there are other events where you can have two aspects, but actually you've got three almost completely separate aspects, and then in a race you've then got to try and get all three together at the optimum time,
yeah,
which yeah.
it's quite good fun, and it really fried my brain at first that and it surprises a lot of people that swimming goes first because they say, what, you do the rest of the race wet? It's like, actually no, because you go from the pool to the bike. By the time you've finished the bike, even on the shortest distance, which is 20k on the bike, you're not wet from the pool anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing.
uh
It's amazing that, isn't it?
yeah. I actually asked somebody who knew about these things once why they do it in the order they do, and it's because swimming, if you get cramp when you're swimming, you drown. If you get cramp or something on the bike, you fall over at speed. But if you fall over when you're running, you're less likely to injure yourself. So it's actually done in order of danger.
Wow. Yeah, I never knew that. And that was always a question that I always wondered. But you learn this is the whole idea of podcast. You learn on them, and I love this is what I love to learn about other people, and I love to learn those sort of facts. Yeah, that's so. Talk to me about when you started or how you found it, and what made you want to do it.
So cycling had always been my happy place as a kid. And now as an adult, I know that if you do sport, you get endorphins, which helps you feel better, etc. As a child, I knew, and my mum knew, that if I was in having one of my teenage things, as us teenage girls do, my mum would very gently suggest, why don't you go for a bike ride? And I'd go and I would pedal, and it would work out all the frustration, and I would come home a much better human being. And I always had that encouragement. I was fortunate that my dad's factory had an athletics team for the children of staff. So I was able to do that. But I never really got into it fully until somebody told me I couldn't. And that was after I had a really bad back injury when I was 34. Um, and the only thing I could do was swimming. And I was at the pool one day to this lady, and I was approaching my 50th birthday by this stage. And we got talking, and she said, "Oh, yeah, this is my last training swim for my triathlon." And I looked at her and I said, "Triathlon?" She says, "Yeah, I've always wanted to do one. And finally, I decided I'd better do one before my 70th birthday because
Wow.
otherwise it'll be too late." And the race was on Sunday and her birthday was on Monday. Now, I've never seen that lady since, but I'm grateful to her every day because I decided that I didn't want to wait till I was 70 because when you fall over at 70, things hurt a lot more. So I set the goal of doing one before I was 50. I booked it to do it in the April, my birthday being in the May. And then this bug came over from China and messed things up.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing an unofficial one, as in I did it myself when the pools were open, but we couldn't have organized events as we were coming out of lockdown. And then I did my first official triathlon just before I was 51. Then I did my second one last year, and I've now got 8 weeks till my next one, which my youngest brother is doing with me. So, because he's now got the bug.
Wow. And I think I love the fact that actually you were inspired by someone else. And actually, I tend to think that most things we're inspired by someone else, or we get involved in something. Because obviously, before we touch on your triathlon, because actually, obviously, when we were talking off air, you mentioned that actually from your upbringing as well, you actually had someone almost show you that actually, no matter what age you were, you still needed to have you time.
Yeah, so my dad was a very good example of that. There's two things that run very strongly through our family genes, and that's music and maths. And the music, my dad is a very good piano player, but also a very good singer. And when I was a child growing up, the only time dad would miss our family evening meal was because he had choir practice. And we knew that that was his own time, and he got to do his thing. And it was never said in as many words, but we always knew that that was important, that you had your thing. My mum was a very good baker. She would bake bread and make cakes and stuff like that. And it was only years later when we were discussing it that she said, "Oh, yeah," she says, "if I was having a really bad day, the bread was amazing because when you knock down bread, as in you have to punch it, the
Yeah,
harder you punch it, the lighter the bread." And my mum was amazing.
there was a lot of frustration and anger going on there.
Well, she's a mother to 5 children, so I'm sure we were right little swines at times growing up. Not that we'd have known it, but my mum found her own therapy. Um, but dad now at 80, he will go and he will play piano at the old folks' home. I mean, us kids pull his leg that he's doing market research, but he goes and plays for the girls. I mean, the girl that originally got him involved in going there has recently had her 100th birthday.
Wow.
And they sing Roll Out the Barrel and they sing all the sing along songs and all the rest. And he loves it. But it means he has to walk. He has mobility issues. He has to walk into the old folks' home. Piano playing is a good exercise. And don't underestimate the social contact aspect. That is so important,
Uh,
whatever
they,
age we are.
I think there's so even just that, we're going to move on to you and the trial, but even that, there are so many points and golden nuggets for people to pick up on the fact that actually, because personally, I think there's too many. As I say, we generally start hobbies, and I say not all the time, but generally we start when we're younger, and actually we get to a point where we almost think as adults we grow up, we think we shouldn't have that, and I think that's one of the worst things we can do is actually then don't have our own time, because I think there's so many couples, and yes, you know, there's so many times where we expect partners to drop stuff, and I just love the fact that okay, your mum took her freshens out baking, and she became an amazing baker and all of that side of it. But we all need our own time, and I think the one thing you shouldn't be doing is asking the person you're with to stop them from doing theirs,
Yeah.
because I just think it's really really important.
Yeah, I mean, my hubby has a, I guess you could say, an unconventional hobby in that he um 3D prints Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
He doesn't sell it, he doesn't do anything with it, but it makes him happy. And from what I can work out, 3D printing is 90% tinkering with a machine and 10% actually making product. But he's happy when he's in that room with his machine and doing all the bits and pieces. That lights him up. So, you know, a hobby really can be anything. To him, it's solitude, it's avoiding people. He's an introvert. He likes to be gregarious as well, but he likes his own time. And I wouldn't dream of saying him, oh, you can't do that because we've got more important stuff to do, because that's important to him.
yeah, just so powerful already, and you know we're only a short time into it, but I just think we need people to understand that actually if your partner or your new boyfriend girlfriend your partner, your wife, your husband have, even if you've been together a long time, if they've got their own thing that makes them happy, it doesn't always have to be you. You know, actually, you want the best version of them to be with you. So, and if that means they need to be out on the sports field, if that means they need to go and do their 3D prints, if that means they need to go and do triathlon, if it means they need to go to a choir, it doesn't matter what it is, but you want the best version of them with you, and that's almost like cutting off. I would say personally, it feels like when we try and stop people from doing this, you're almost just trying to stop them being who they are, and you're trying to change them for who you want them to be. I want you in all the what? No, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
You know?
especially, I mean, with your life partner, they had a life before you,
Yeah.
unless you've been together since you were babies, in which case weird. But
Yeah.
but you know, my hubby and I, we'd lived on our own for a couple of years. We've now been together 26 years.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in each other's pockets all the time. And I mean, if that floats your boat, great. You know,
Yeah.
I see people on the triathlon circuit where it's husband and wife, and the only
Yeah.
time they're separated is when they're actually racing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's your thing. My hubby helps me get the bike into the car. He makes sure I've got all my snacks. He makes sure I've got all my kit. And then he waves me off and says, see you after race. You know, and I go off to the venue and do my thing and come back. And he cooks dinner. You know.
It's all part of a team, isn't it? That's the
Yeah.
thing. You're a united team.
He supports me doing my thing because he knows it makes me happy.
So powerful.
So
And this is what I love about these sort of stories and these things, because actually there are so many nuggets, and it's just yeah,
that's
phenomenal.
why I've kept him around for 26 years.
Well, yeah, otherwise you've got to train someone else to do it, haven't
Exactly.
you?
Don't want to go through that coaching course
Yeah. Oh
again.
God. Yeah. Yeah. It takes time. Takes time, that one. So talk to me about obviously your triathlon. Um. So in terms of the normal sort of triathlon, for people who don't really understand or have done them, what sort of distances are you looking on each? And obviously, yeah, they won't. They'll change a little bit, but on sort of average side of it.
Yeah, so the distance I do is the sprint triathlon, which is the shortest one. So that's between a 400 and 500 meter swim. The ones I go in for 400, so it's 16 lengths in the pool. Now, I would say if you know how to swim, you can do that distance.
Yeah.
You might have to practice to get a good time, but the beauty is they actually put you in time order into the pool. So the slow swimmers go first, and then if you've ever, I sometimes marshal for other races, and you see the times come tumbling down slowly, and the first swimmers might be doing that in 15, 16, 18 minutes, and the last ones do it in like 5 minutes, and it's like boom, they're gone. It's like,
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Yeah.
But everybody encourages everybody. So you do your swim for 500 meters, then the bike is 20k on the distance I do,
Yeah.
and then the run is 5k. So again, I hadn't run since I was a teenager. So what I did was I got the old Couch to 5k app, and that again, the first day you start it, you do 90 minutes of walking and a minute of running, and you think you're going to die unless you've got a particularly good level of fitness. But then all of a sudden, after I think it's either 9 or 10 weeks, you can actually run for half an hour without stopping. And I have no idea of the science behind that. Well, I have some idea because I've looked into it, but it takes you through the pain barrier, and there's a voice to encourage you all the way. You know, the bike I love because the bike has always been my happy place. So I didn't need particular support with that. Um, but it's a case of I read somewhere that if you do any of your disciplines twice a week, you'll maintain your fitness. If you do them 3 times a week, you'll get better. So what do I want to work on improving? Okay, I need to be doing that 3 times a week. If you can't fit in anything else, concentrate on the one you want to get better at. You know, some people say, okay, you should be doing running 3 times a week anyway. Some people can't manage that. You know, life is complicated. But when you decide that you want to do it, you find a way. Last year I was going running in my lunch break at work. And it's like half an hour running and then half an hour to have a quick wash in the disabled toilet and get into clean gear.
Yeah, back into the office
You
again.
know, freshen up and back to your desk.
Yeah.
Because the rest of my life was too complicated and I didn't have time elsewhere. And I could only get out on the bike at weekends. But you find your gaps, you find your way to do it. It's just a case of making that decision.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is a case of making the decision. Do you train with other people? Are you part of now I suppose for me now, if someone's listening to this going, actually, I quite like the sound of that. Because I'm sitting here going, I've never done one. Swimming for me, I can do. At the moment I struggle with the runs because obviously now with having played, we always go, yeah, as a child, get involved in sport. It's amazing. Yes, okay, we can also get injured, and we can have. I'm now 46. I've had a couple of knee operations and other bits, but it's the best thing I ever did. But we know going into the sport that it's a physical game, that things happen. But we're trained to to fall the right way. We're trained how to tackle. We're trained how to do things. So 5k run. Yeah, obviously there are other apps available rather than just the Couch to 5k. Because I was thinking that going, I've got that, and actually I probably need to have a go at doing that again, just to get myself out because I travel a lot. Again, one of the things I need to do is look at what I do because
Yeah.
I'm doing this podcast. People inspire me to do it, but again, life's busy, and I
Yeah.
need to sort of try one and see how that goes, and go from there. So you never know. You might even just inspire me to have a go. So we'll see. We'll watch this space. So
Well,
you know,
one of my brothers travels a lot, and number one priority in his packing is his running gear.
yeah,
But the other thing is, as we get older, yes, things start to hurt a bit more. I developed quite bad knee pain last year. Some people say I'm the wrong side of 50. I think it's the best side of 50 personally, but that's just me. But I went for a running assessment at a local running store. Very specialist. They do running, and they basically filmed me. Very weird. You see your legs from behind at an angle you'd never be able to see in real life. But it showed that my legs, I was twisting my feet in a way when I ran. So I needed a bit of support. And I was quite skeptical, but I asked everybody for my birthday to chip in, and I got some really nice running shoes. And within 2 weeks of starting using those shoes, my knee pain had gone
wow,
because my legs were aligned in the right way. Um, I was talking to a friend about that, and she's a few years older than me, and she says, "Yeah, I wish somebody had told me to do that years ago." She says, "Because I'm now looking at a knee replacement because I've been running it at the wrong angle for all these years." And I was like, "Fair enough." I'm now pushed out the boat and bought a second pair, and my older pair are now my. I use them for everything. If I'm walking the dog, if I'm going around the shops, anything that involves walking or running, I have that extra support because you might run for half an hour 3 times a week. What are you doing the rest of the time when you're on your feet?
Yeah,
You're continuing the damage. So if you need support with stuff like that, I would say consult an expert because they're so worth it.
yeah, yeah. No, I love
Um,
that because people just assume you just go out running.
yeah, there's a bit more to it than that.
There is, isn't there? So yeah, and that's the thing. And mine saying even like last couple of weeks, my knees are a little bit sore.
Mm,
And I don't do anything now. I'm running events all over the country and obviously traveling and all that bit.
mm.
But again, I've always not been envious of people being able to run, but I am a little bit because
Yeah,
doing rugby. I always hated fitness. I hated those sort of bits. Let me go on for 80 minutes and run about with the ball in my hands and play, no problem.
yeah.
But fitness and stuff, I was like, oh, not again.
But if you want to carry on playing rugby, you need to work on the
Yeah, you
fitness
do.
and all that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing.
It's one of them things.
And now I've stopped. Sort of things are catching up with me, but I want to start doing
Yeah,
something again.
yeah.
You know,
The other thing I would say is if you are going to go out running, please, I'm a driver as well as a cyclist and a runner, make sure you can be seen
yeah,
because then I nearly took somebody out the other day in my car. They were completely head to toe in dark clothing, and I did not see them until the last minute.
yeah,
If you see me, I'm like a Christmas tree on my bike. I've got lights, I've got reflective stuff. My helmet's bright pink, but that's a girly thing. Uh, but it means that people can see me. I wear a high vis when I'm cycling. I wear a high vis strap and lights if needed when I'm running. Um, it's it's worth it. And wear a helmet if you're cycling, please. You know,
yeah, yeah. No, completely
I don't
agree.
like preaching on health and safety, but look after your brain and your body.
Yeah,
You only get one.
realistic. It's common sense.
Yeah.
It is common sense, but actually, it doesn't always work that way. And again, I've been in similar boats when you suddenly come around a corner and you see someone, but actually you only see them at the last minute, and they're on a bike or they're they haven't got a helmet on. You're like, oh, God, really?
Yeah.
Or they're running, and it's just like, yeah, you see them suddenly they cross over and they're like 10 yards in front of you, and you've only just seen them, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, scary, but yeah, that's people listen to the podcast. This is what it's about.
Health
You
and
know,
safety.
health is we want you to try these different things, but
Mm,
whatever you do, be safe on them as well,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse
You,
than
you
not
you
being
you
safe.
asked earlier if I was part of a group of
Mm,
people.
yeah,
I personally aren't part of a club, but um at my first official triathlon, I found out there was such a thing as triathlon clubs. There's loads of them out there. I'm not a member because I've not found the right one for me yet. But there are loads out there and they're supportive, and you see them at the races. They set up and they all encourage you, etc. And they encourage other people as well. But if you want that bit of extra advice and technical advice as well with your bike and all the rest of it, join a club.
yeah,
You'll
and I
find
think
like-minded people.
you've got and as to say, I've been part of clubs for pretty much my whole life. You don't know who's there. You don't know who's in the clubs. I've got now friends that I've known since I was 5, 6 years old, and I'm still friends with them now. And if it wasn't for being part of a club, I would never have met them,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have the friendship base I've got now. Um, Also, I suppose as well, because you've got three separate things. You could probably you could probably look at joining a swimming club. You could probably
yeah,
look at joining a cycling club. You could look at join a running club, because again, there's lots of beginner running clubs out there, and,
yeah,
and these sort of things, and strider groups and all these who are doing cross countries and everything else. So, and that's it. I think the beauty of something like the triathlon is you've got three events, or you've got three different activities. Yes, it's one event in itself, but actually, there's nothing to stop breaking it up into other groups. So actually, by
Yeah.
doing one event, you can actually join 3 clubs. You can actually
Yeah.
join 4 clubs. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, the other thing is, if don't be put off if you find out that the triathlon club meets on a Monday and Monday's the night that you do something else, or you've got work commitments. Well, look at the running club because they might meet on a Tuesday.
yeah,
So, it do your own research.
yeah,
What's available in your area?
love it, love, yeah. And I think it's so important because people, I just think, oh, I'm doing triathlon. It has to be a triathlon club. No, it doesn't. It will help. Yes, it will help because they'll look at all 3 things together. But actually, you've got 3 separate clubs there as well.
The other thing is don't discount online.
Yeah,
When I first looked at it, because in triathlon you also have something that's called the fourth discipline, which is transition, and which is a fancy name for when you swap from the pool to the bike and then from the bike to running. There's very strict rules governing how you do transition. So it pays to know them. And I'm a girl that reads the details, so that wasn't a problem for me.
that helps.
But there are loads of YouTube videos that talk about how to do transition, how to do your training, optimize your training. If you want to get fitter on the bike, watch a YouTube video if you can't find somewhere local that'll help you. I'm part of a running community on Facebook, and we do 100-mile challenges. That doesn't mean we go out and run 100 miles in one hit. There's no way. But but we support each other to reach our goals. And there's some ladies on there from all over the world achieving some amazing fitness challenges. For some of them, and it is mainly American based, but some of them is like, I'm 400 pounds now and I need to get down to 200. And she's doing it. Somebody else wants to get better after a knee operation, but it's an encouraging, supportive community. And that is so important. As I say, if you haven't got physically a community local, join an online one.
Yeah, yeah. And as I say, there's so many opportunities now to join these groups. Right,
Yeah.
just before we wrap this up, last question that I ask everyone. So if someone was listening to this now and gone, oh, I really want to do something, but I don't really know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should. What would you say to them?
I would say do. If you've got that feeling inside you that you would mind having a go, have a go, definitely. Because you never know, it might be the thing that you're really good at in life, and you won't know until you try it. You might suck at it, but enjoy it. In which case, happy days. You don't have to be good at these things to to get enjoyment out of them. But yeah, look for advice, look for assistance, um, and start doing. I mean, as I say, the first day I did Couch to 5K, I thought I was going to die with the running. But I'm not built like your average runner. I'm a well padded runner. But people are always surprised. They say, "Oh gosh, you might be overweight, but you're strong." It's like, yeah, I do have a level of fitness that isn't optimal, but have a go. Find somebody who can advise you. Find the local club. Find online. Find somewhere that can help you, point you in the right direction. But don't put it off because you'll always wonder, what if I had had a go? And you never know. I mean, one of the ladies locally, uh, she had always wanted to join a choir, but I'm in my 50s now, and I was like, cobblers, you know. Well, lo and behold, there's a mature ladies choir locally, and she's gone and joined that and loves it. So whatever's inside you, whatever that hobby might be, do it because your mental health will thank you. And if it's a physical one, your physical health will thank you because we need to keep moving whatever age we are.
Love that. Amazing. Sylvia, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you for everyone else for tuning in, whether you're watching this or listening to it. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Bye.